Hi there, it's Dr. Nadia, founder of the Doyen Agency and host of Sales Culture Unfiltered podcast. I'm so excited for our guest today, Amy Blain. She's the sales director at Porchlight Book Company and the founder of Shatter Sales. With 25 years of experience, she's known for her modern, high vibe sales approach, rooted in collaboration, connection, and creating win-wins. Through her work, Amy empowers women to build confidence, break barriers, and achieve success on their own terms. And I'm so excited for our episode. We talked a lot about trust and Amy's philosophy, which is connect, cultivate, close. Grab your pens and notepads. This is an episode you won't want to miss. Tune in. Welcome to Sales Culture Unfiltered, the podcast where we get real about what actually makes or breaks high performing sales teams. I'm your host, Dr. Nadia Y. Brown, a sales culture and communication architect, and I work with sales leaders to engineer high impact teams that hit their numbers without burning out or breaking down. On this show, we dive into unfiltered conversations with sales leaders, industry experts, and high-performing teams about what it really takes to drive revenue, retain talent, and build a winning sales culture. If you're tired of surface-level advice and want the strategies, challenges, and hard-won wins that actually matter, you're in the right place. Let's get into it. Welcome to another episode of Sales Culture Unfiltered. I am so excited for our guest today. Welcome, Amy.
Hello, welcome. I'm so excited to be here. I'm excited to talk with you about sales. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this conversation. I think we're going to talk about some really impactful things. And so let's just dive right in, right? Like, just go. So, my first question is, you've been in sales for over 25 years. How has the landscape shifted for women, and where do you feel we still have work to do?
Well, I would say the landscape has shifted and also not shifted, as you said. Like,
Mm.
how has it shifted and where does it still have room to grow? I would say I started in sales when I was 19 and I was telemarketing sales and we were in call centers asking people, this is back when like landlines were
Yep, I
still a
remember
thing.
that.
Yeah, asking people to switch from like AT&T to Sprint and like getting trying to get like people to apply for a credit card, all of that. And then all the way up into my most recent like corporate as a salesperson, not as a sales leader, but as a salesperson was in insurance. So
Hmm.
mostly male dominated industries along the way, mostly working with male leaders, male coworkers, and a lot of times I was the only female,
Wow.
maybe like one or two. And so, what I would say is that throughout the years, and some of this is just through my natural organic growth and having leaders that will accept me in terms of how I want to sell, is in the way women sell. So, moving from that transactional, like, hey, I need to get a sale, I need to hit a sales quota because my sales manager is expecting me to do this, I need to have an
Hmm.
income. Um, I need to do whatever I need to do in this moment to make a sale. And really, the evolution that I've seen is moving from that transactional sales
Hmm.
into that relationship selling and
Yes.
having that not be more, having that feel better, like testing it out because it's like something that I organically want to do. And then having my sales leaders say, wow, part of it was because it was successful. I was bringing in revenue. So they were kind of like, we don't care what you're doing as long as you're bringing in revenue. But for them to really see that as an asset, as opposed to some of my male coworkers were not doing that as much or it didn't come as naturally to them. And then
Hmm.
having them say, we love that you're doing this. Like, how can you do more of that? And I really saw that within the past, I would say 5 years, where the leaders were really wanting to nurture that within me, and then me being feeling more comfortable to say, hey, you know what, I'm gonna just provide, like, my sales strategy is providing value. I'm going to be generating videos to educate people on the topic of whatever I'm selling,
Hmm.
knowing that there's no timeline on when that revenue is going to come in, and really trusting that this more relationship building is is the key to unlocking not only long-term success, but long-term success with high value clients, which is
Yes.
people really want versus just wanting the short, low value client.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
um, it
That is
was,
so good. Okay, we're already taking a detour. I promise we'll bring it back, right? I just had this conversation recently. Oh my gosh, around trust in
mhm.
sales. And I shared with the person I was having lunch with, we were having this dialogue, and I was like, there's a lot of mistrust in sales.
Oh yeah.
A lot of mistrust in sales. And I was sharing with her because she is not part of sales, right? Um, that most people don't trust salespeople, even salespeople. That's a whole other conversation for another
Oh
day.
yeah.
But
Mhm.
then, right, so you think that like a lot of people don't trust salespeople, even though they need that. And then many trainings teach salespeople not to trust their prospects.
Mm.
So when you think about that whole process around overcoming objections and really building, like you said, building that relationship and building trust, that's a very different strategy than what many of us have been taught in how to approach sales. And I was like, I don't like that. I want
Mm-mm.
people to trust me, but I also want to be able to trust people. And how do you build that relationship? So when you come into an environment that can be very adversarial, when you think about all the underworkings and how some of these things work, one, it's a miracle that it works, right? How then do you decide to go against the grain and say, no, I want to build this process on trust? And
Mhm.
then, like you said, and I don't know, because I don't have a magic ball as to when this revenue is going to come in, which I'm sure drove your sales lead is crazy. Like, talk to us about that.
Yeah, I mean that is such an important point, and one of the reasons why I really went really deep into this. When I think about my sales philosophy, I think of the three C's: connect, the bookends are connect and close. Those are like the traditional
Mm,
milestones of sales. But I really embedded into the middle, which is cultivate, which is all about
yes.
building trust, building credibility. And what that really um, looks like is unconditional giving. So being able to give from an energetic space of, I don't want anything in return. Like, even if you're ready to buy from me, that's great, but that is not what I'm reaching out to you for.
Mm-hmm.
And what that could look like is, you're someone that you've connected with that you are like, I just love this person. I want to buy from them. But they've said, I'm not ready to buy for 6 months or a year. Follow up with me, 30 days before that. So you then know you have a follow up schedule. But in between that time, you have so many opportunities to just give to that person.
Mm-hmm.
And you give in a way, I always say it's personal and purposeful. So it's personal to them. It's something that you've noted in a previous conversation that they care about, sales related, business related, or not business related. Even, if somebody shares with you something about their family and their lifestyle, something they're struggling with, you can, I love books. So like send them a book that's related to
Yes.
that topic, just out of the blue. And, you're not, again, they've already said, I'm not ready to buy from you for 2 or 3 more months. So this isn't a trick to try to get them to buy from you. It's just, I genuinely was like, I see you, I want to work with you eventually, and I want you to know that I genuinely want to cultivate this relationship. And
Yes.
so, because not only I found it really serves two purposes, to your point, like how can you step into this, is that sales can just really wear you down.
Mm-hmm.
And because you're constantly going up against people not trusting you.
Mm-hmm.
And that wearing down was getting too heavy for me. And I was like, I
Mm.
can't deal with everybody basically not trusting me. And
Yeah.
so, how do I do that? And the way that I found was through showing gratitude, through giving unconditionally, because not only does that hopefully feel good for somebody else, on the receiving end, they could still think, oh, this is just a trick. She's still trying to
True.
do this. You can't control what they're going to do. But for me, I can say, I've done something that I genuinely want to do unconditionally, and it feels good for me. So
Yeah.
it kind of came from a selfish place too. Like I need to continue to fuel myself as I'm going through this journey of
Yes.
trying to do sales. And so then, and I believe sales, there's a lot of energetics in it. So you are just
Mm-hmm.
energetically showing up better, showing up more authentically. And you're just really sending something full of joy out into the world, which I just love that in sales you have an opportunity to connect with so many people. So how
Yes.
can you kind of make their day better and make their life
Mm-hmm.
better? regardless of if they ever buy from you or not. And the whole, I mean, you and I both know that people buy from people that make them feel good, make them
Yep.
feel seen. And so it's just a byproduct of what you do. And so that's kind of like my journey in terms of, wanting to break through that trust barrier while also kind of serving myself and keeping myself afloat during that process.
I love that.
How do you like, can I ask you, like, how do you like build trust with people, or how do you kind of break through that wall?
Yeah, it's similar. Like I have a very so one thing that we've done in our company is I took a step back and I looked at the entire client journey and I was just like, how do I want people to feel when they
Mm,
interact with the Doyen agency, right? Like how so, and a part of that is what you said, like how do we build this relationship? How do we honor people's buying process? Because that can look different from person to person or company to company. What are those things and ways that we can fill in, like you said? So we've done very similar things in sending we send treats. We send cards. We if life events happen, I'm like, okay, let's send a card. Like something happened, their dog died or something, like anything. Hopefully it's not that dramatic, but sometimes it
sure.
is, or they're
Yeah.
celebrating an anniversary or a milestone. So it does require us though to stay connected. But I like that because I found that before we really embrace that, it would be, oh, you're not ready. Then I would do the right thing, right? And setting that time, okay, 6 months later, let's connect. But then there was that disconnect, and it felt like I'm only showing up because
Yes.
now I want something, right? And I wasn't really feeling like I was truly cultivating that relationship. And so we're still working on how do we tighten up our systems to make sure that things don't fall through the cracks and we can really embrace that as a company. But you're
Mhm.
right. Like it was really, I just had to put relationships first
Mhm.
and remind myself that the person that I'm looking to work with or the team that I'm looking to work with, those are people and they have lives outside of their work. And like there are all these things that impact how they show up, just like it impacts me. Like I have a husband, I have a child, I have, stuff, right? And so how do we take some of that other that we put around people when we're doing our work and just show up as people? And
Mhm.
this is Tom, and he has a wife, and she's gluten free. And so we need to make sure that if we send treats, that they need to be gluten free treats, like really getting to know and honor people. And even if they never buy and they never work with us, one, we've seen people refer others because they've had such a different experience in our sales process. So that was a very long-winded answer, but yes, that's how we do
I
it.
love that. I love that. And also, like, I always think about, like, how do I build trust with my friends and my family?
Hmm.
And it's by, showing up for
Yep.
them.
Checking
It's
in
regular
on them.
check-ins just to
Yep.
see how they're doing. And you can't do that with like hundreds of people. And you're probably not gonna be able to do it with like hundreds of prospects. But if you have your top like 20, they're like, hey, I'm
Hmm.
really working on building and cultivating trust with these 20. How am I showing up for them in a way that I would show up for a friend?
Yeah.
Um, and whatever that means for that professional dynamic. Yeah.
Yep. I love that. That's so good. Oh my gosh. I love this whole conversation around trust. So don't get me started. I don't want to be on my soapbox. It's like this is your moment.
No, it's great. I love
It's a
it.
thing for me.
Mhm.
So with that, because you and your vast experience, you've had the opportunity to lead teams in both corporate and entrepreneurial settings. So in that, what has been the biggest cultural difference that you've seen between the two, and how does it shape how people sell?
Yeah. So my corporate, being a salesperson and being a sales leader has mostly been men. Wanting to get more women into it, but still more men, which is something that when you said what hasn't changed or what needs improvement for women, that would be one of the things, like making it more societally friendly for women to be in
Hmm.
sales from a corporate aspect, is something that I think there's a ton of work that needs to be done. Um, but so that's mostly been men, and leading a team now that's mostly men. And in my entrepreneur how I'm leading entrepreneurs, they are mostly females. And,
Mm.
because from that standpoint, it's about how do I get more financial, how do I get more money in the hands of women? That's really something that, is speaks to me personally. And
Yes.
so what I've seen between the two, so using that as the lens, letting people know that's kind of the lens that I'm looking at, is that the men have been more individualistic,
Mm-hmm.
and they're about, I need to hit a sales goal for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it might be because they're motivated by providing for their family. It's more about them. So it doesn't mean that it's necessarily bad. It's just they want to be in control. They want to do the process. They want to own the process. And it's less about asking for help and understanding that it's so much a more enjoyable, and you can be so much more successful if everyone is helping each other. Hey, I've got this
Yeah.
client. I'm really struggling. What are your ideas? They're less apt to ask their coworker, how
Mm-hmm.
do I do this? Or I need to implement the sale and it's process driven. How do I ask for help so that I can free myself up to now go after other sales? Um, and the opposite is true for women, where I was actually blown away when I started getting into the entrepreneur coaching and consulting for women, is that they just want to give to everybody. They're like, how can I
No, you're
help
like,
you?
whoa, whoa.
Yeah. And I'm like, your business is only like 1 or 2 years. Like, you should be really thinking about yourself. Like, this is great that you want to help everybody around. You want to refer everybody, you want to buy everybody's services.
Mhm.
But, let's get you up and going. Let's think
Please.
about what you need. And so it's about, obviously the goal is to find some middle ground, that
Yeah.
you're willing to help and ask for help, but you're also understanding that there are needs, from a sales perspective, you have to generate the revenue to pay your bills and lead the lifestyle that you want to lead. So let's figure out how you really do both and integrate both.
Hmm. I love that. I love that. So in that, because I'm glad that you shared the background and the lens, right? Because all of us have different lenses that we view things through, because that is helpful. But in that, so when you think about your experience in both corporate and entrepreneurial settings, is that what inspired you to create Shatter Sales? Like, what was there a specific moment that made you realize women needed this platform?
Oh my gosh. Yes, there is a specific moment. And that specific moment came during the pandemic. I'm one of
Oh.
those people that spending the time alone opened up so many things within my heart and mind.
Hmm.
And one of them was, I had been really part of the game. And when I say part
Hmm.
of the game, meaning I was there to sell and contribute money to a system that was said that they were there to support women, but were not interested in making any deep societal organizational change to show
Wow.
up for women. And, I remember I always come back to this conversation with my sales manager, which fantastic person, very progressive, open-minded. And, in that organization, we had a mentoring program where when people would onboard, they would partner you up with a person that worked there to try to just emotionally be like, how is this going for you? And to provide support. And obviously I was paired up with a lot of women in sales, and she was, and I'd done this for I'd worked there for 11 years, lots of women. And she was saying, I'm really struggling, established salesperson, fantastic salesperson. But she was like, I'm really struggling because of, lots of things. But one of them was, we have our sales meetings on Monday morning at 8 a.m. I have to drop off my kids. I have to show up late. And I'm feeling like this isn't working for me. And if it's
Mm-hmm.
so rigid from a time schedule that I can't be there and show up, I just don't think I can do this job. And I just was like, and I'd seen other women come and go for some other reasons. And so I remember I walked into my sales manager's office and I thought I had this great idea and he was going to be like, "You're so smart." And I said, "Hey, I just had a call with Sally, and we love Sally, right? Sally's great." And yeah, we love Sally. She's doing a great job. And I was like, she had said this to me, that she's really struggling with the rigidity of the training schedule and the different meetings and things like that, internal meetings. And I said, have we ever thought about making some shifts within the company to make it more easily accessible for women to show up.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember he stood up and he looked at me and he said, "There is no difference between the men and women here. None." And I was like, "What?" And then he said, "You were successful
Wow.
and we didn't have to change anything for you. So that other women can too." And he pointed that we had like one other female that was successful. And I just like left and I really thought about that conversation for a long
Mm-hmm.
time. It wasn't like an immediate thing. But one of the things that I realized is that wow, they don't even understand that there is a difference between men and women. And we're seeing, and because of that, we're seeing men come into the organization and work their way up and gain total financial autonomy, uh, financial and time autonomy.
Mm-hmm.
They can come and go as they choose. And the women are here at their office. They were all mostly service roles. You have to clock in, you have to clock out. It's very rigid. And there was like a light bulb moment where I was like, I had been working within the machine and I was able to step outside of it and be like,
Wow.
something's not right here. We need to get
Mm-hmm.
more money into the hands of women so that they can create the cultures and the environment exactly like what you're doing.
Yep.
One of the reasons why I love working, like talking with you, is that you are the epitome of what I want to see more of is women
Mm.
saying, I can do this, I can generate revenue, and that's going to give me the freedom to live
Yes.
my life, to drop my kids off at school, to leave early to pick them up or to make dinner or whatever that means, or to pay for childcare or a nanny,
Right.
whatever that means,
All
and
those things.
yeah. And so that was like my shift. Like, I can't be part of this machine anymore. And again, great company, but very traditional. And I think they were doing the best that they could. But I would have gone somewhere else and worked if I thought it could be better. And
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, that was kind of the light bulb moment where I was like, I'm doubling down on making sure I'm at least providing the resources that I can that I know
Yes.
of to help move this mission forward.
I love that. Yeah. I think we've all had those moments of, ooh, this is broken.
Yeah.
And it feels like, I'm sure it's not true, but it feels like I'm the only one that sees this broken. So what do we do about it?
Yeah.
So in that, if there's a woman listening right now and she's like, oh my gosh, Amy, you are all up in my Kool-Aid. What would you tell her? Like she finds herself in this machine, is not supporting her the way it needs to. What are some steps that she can do to kind of right the ship or jump ship? Like, sometimes there is no righting of that ship. You just jump ship and find a different one. Like, what does that look like?
Mhm. Well, I would say I always think about like if you are that woman and you're in the machine and you're thinking this culture is not supporting me, or I could be more successful if I was allowed these types of changes within the company. I always think about there's two different types of people. So I'm somebody that doesn't like to be put into a box. I don't want to put anybody else in a box. So kind of offering two different pathways. I think that there is a woman out there that has it within her to say, I'm going to stay and I'm going to fight and I'm going to have
Mhm.
the meeting and I'm going to join the committee and I'm going to ask, I'm going to systemically change this organization because it is embedded into my soul that this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I will tell you that that is hard, so hard. I was going to swear, but the hardest thing because you're constantly up against people that just don't want you there. They don't want to hear what you're saying. But I mean, I think it's so important. So I think that there is, and every woman has to think about that for themselves. And then there's another woman that says, you know what? Isn't worth it. I want to move into a space where I feel more supported, or I can create an environment where I feel supported and take
Yeah.
ownership over their life and saying, no more. I'm not going to feed the machine. Or maybe I've tried a couple things and they didn't work. And now I'm hearing within myself to say, it's time to do something else, which means you go either to a company that you feel like is going to support you or you
Yeah.
move out into entrepreneurship. I mean, I feel like so many women are moving out into entrepreneurship because they're like, hey, I can't get what I need from corporation from my company,
Mm-hmm.
which is sad, but selfishly, I mean, I felt like I was kind of taking the easy way out in a lot of ways. And I have found myself in a corporate job, but it's so different and it's
Yeah,
really progressive and it really allows me to show up in a way that feels good for me in all the ways.
I
And
love
I'm
that.
very thankful for that. So it does exist um,
Hmm.
in all the areas. Yeah.
I love that. That's so good. I love your paths. Like there depends, right? It depends on the person, but sometimes it depends on the season of life that
Yeah.
you're in as well, right?
Mhm.
Oh, this has been so good. Okay, so as we prepare to wrap up, um, I like to close with maybe what's one unfiltered truth that you feel more sales leaders need to hear?
Oh my gosh, an unfiltered truth that sales leaders need to hear. I'm reflecting on, I recently went to a workshop on belonging,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a lot of things that came to the surface for me when I think about leading a team is understanding that each person on your team is unique,
Yes,
that they're not uniform. And I can even say for myself, I look at my team and I'm like, oh, they all should be doing the same thing in the same way. And I get frustrated. Why are you not doing the things that I'm telling you to do? Or why are you not open to it? And it really opened my eyes to say each person is unique. I don't believe that there is a certain type of personality that's going to be successful in sales because people
agreed.
buy from who they know, like, and trust. And there's all
Hmm.
different types of people that are buying, and so that means that there's an opportunity for all different types of people that sell. And
Correct.
but I think understanding that each of your team members is unique and under really taking the time and effort to understand what makes them unique so that they can then serve the greater good of the entire team
Hmm.
is the one thing. And it can feel frustrating because you're gonna, like, I'm bumping up against people that are just not like me fundamentally. And me, we are, as humans, are naturally designed to judge. And
Hmm.
so being able to shift from judgment into discernment and to say, okay, this isn't the way I would sell, but we have buyers out there that are really going to connect with this person. And so, how do I champion this person? How do I allow them to show up fully as themselves so that they can not only feel good at work, but also bring in the clients that are best suited for our company and for that salesperson to be specifically working with.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, where can our listeners connect with you?
Oh, well, thank you so much for asking. So I have lots of things happening. Shatter Sales. I do a weekly newsletter that's called Sales Spark Wednesday. I do a mindset or tactical sales tips. So it's obviously free. Love it if people would subscribe to that. I would
Yes.
say that is like my biggest thing when it comes to Shatter Sales. For women, I do have a mastermind that if you're part of that machine or you're an entrepreneur and you're looking for a monthly meetup for you to come, and I offer quick sales training, a space to be able to celebrate your wins, and then also be accountable for, like, what is your sales activity that you want to take the next month. And then we gather every month. So those are the two things with Shatter. And then at Porchlight, which is my corporate job, we sell books. And so, for your audience, it might be, speakers and authors like yourself. If you're having an event and you're buying large quantities of book, you want them delivered. Porchlight is the best in the industry. We've been around for 100 years. And,
Love it.
Brene Brown is a huge fan of ours. And we've worked with so many great authors and still do. So that would be with Porchlight. We also do a really cool newsletter that we send out all of the newest books that are coming out. If you are a reader, I would highly recommend subscribing to them. And the Porchlight is so progressive. So the books that they pick are provocative. And it's like,
Hmm.
ooh, it isn't like just the bestsellers that you see out like on the influencer circuit. It's about like who's changing hearts and minds out there through books. So I
Hmm.
really love that. So yeah.
I need
Will you
to
send me
subscribe
that
to
link
that
then?
one. I'm not subscribed to that list.
Yeah,
So
I'll send you the link for that. I think you would like
perfect.
that.
Well,
Yeah.
I need all the links for everything so we can make sure
Okay.
they're in the show notes so that everyone can get connected. But I know Sales Spark is an amazing newsletter. I can attest to that. So you definitely want to subscribe. And for our readers, then get on over to Porchlight as well.
Thank you. Thank you. This has been so
Awesome.
great.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for joining me today. And thank you all for joining us for another episode of Sales Culture Unfiltered. We'll see you soon. Bye bye. That's a wrap on today's episode of Sales Culture Unfiltered. But the conversation doesn't end here. If something sparked your interest today, connect with me on LinkedIn or visit our website at thedoyenagency.com to explore how we're helping sales teams build cultures that last. And if you found this episode valuable, don't keep it to yourself. Hit subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a fellow sales leader. See you next time.